LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes. Welcome back to another edition of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collect All Monsters. And if you saw my last video of the awesome, epic, in my opinion, overall figure of the year of 2023 with the Spiral Studios Burning Godzilla 2019, the deluxe edition. Woo, please check out that video if you haven't just yet. I had a great time, fun time making that video. That was such an epic piece. So please check it out if you haven't just yet. But I teased at the very end of that video that we will be taking a break from the Monsterverse, getting away from the Monsterverse just for a little bit, and going down to the South Seas, because I had an idea that there would be a big duel going down in the South Seas. And with that, that little tease, you kind of knew where I was going with this, you know what I'm saying? And you see this guy right here in all his epic glory, and yes, I said epic, despite him looking a little bit questionable, but we'll get into that momentarily. But again, you click the title, you know exactly what we're covering here, so let's dive head first into this awesome resin model kit review. And today we'll take a look at the resin model kit of the Tengetsu Crafts 1966 Godzilla, from his epic appearance in one of my most favorite films of all time, and it's definitely on my top 10 of my most favorite Godzilla films. 1966's Airborne Heart of the Deep, also known as Godzilla, Airborne Mothra Big Duel in the South Seas, but we know it better here in the US as Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And as you can see, I have the beautiful kit in all his glory. Yes, it's a beautiful kit. Again, I am one of these fans that have a soft spot for this design, and again, I get more into that momentarily. But yeah, this kit is awesome. This kit is great. And honestly, there's not too many representations of this version of Godzilla out there, or at least this particular suit, or the look that the suit was going for in a lot of collectibles, you know what I'm saying? But again, I get into that momentarily. So let me give a huge shout out and thank you to two special people for making this video happen. First and foremost, Charles Blankenship. I was able to get this kit from him. And you heard his name a few times on my channel before when it comes to my kit acquisitions that I've gotten over the past year and some change. You know, I got the KOC 55 from him. I got the KOC King Goji from him. You know, just a few kits, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of been like my kit supplier in a lot of ways. When I missed out on pre-orders or whatever, or I didn't really know how to get these kits, quite frankly, he has been like one of my go-to guys when it comes to kits. So I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to him. And of course, John LeGrand, again, another awesome artist in our community. He's no different than Mark Sang Yang, Burley Vang, David Abdopko, Steve Serajoli. Just an amazing artist when it comes to building and painting model kits. And this is not my first acquisition that I was able to get from him. At least a model kit I had him build and paint for me. The first was the Resin Chef 30cm Mothra Larva from his or her appearance from 1964's Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. That was actually my first kit I was able to get from him. I have him build and paint for me. And this is the second. And I want to say I got this back in March of this year, quite frankly. So again, thank you to Charles and thank you to John for making this happen for me. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to do business with you, both of you, in the future, especially when it comes to a certain model kit or any model kits I may want to grab for myself later on down the line. But again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tengetsu Crafts 30cm. Actually is like in the 32, 34cm range. You know, somewhat of a big kit, bigger than your standard 30cm figures from S Plus, mind you, of the 1966 Godzilla. And as you can see here, he's not in the most pristine condition. Because technically, even though, yes, this is the 1966 Godzilla, which is basically a variation of the suit used in the previous film, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, and that Goji was called the Daisenso Goji. But technically, this is called a Nankai Goji suit. You know what I'm saying? Nankai, I believe, as far as like Japanese, I think that signifies South Seas, I think. So technically, this is the Nankai Goji suit, quite frankly. And I first caught wind of this kit, I want to say it was last year, I think. Because the kit originally came out in 2021. But I caught wind of this kit for the first time from a fellow YouTuber, and he's also a great artist and painter like John LeGrand, Mark Sang Yang, Steve Serajoli, Nikolai Falcone Punchy, and he has a great YouTube channel called Iconic Repaints where he specializes in showing his progress of building and painting kaiju kits. And he did a video on this kit right here in particular, and when I saw it, my mouth dropped because Again, I have a soft spot for this design. I have a soft spot for how this shoddy look of Godzilla has in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And once I saw his video, please check it out. It's in the archives of his channel too. Iconic repaints. Please check it out. But when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I got to find some way to try and grab this thing and put it in my collection, quite frankly. Because I have a few Daisenso Goji collectibles in my collection. I have a Billiken kit. I have the 25cm X Plus version. I have the 25cm 66 version of Godzilla from X Plus. And even though that figure is technically the 66, and it does have shades of the Nankai Goji suit, I don't think that was the original intent by X Plus. But when you look at that figure, especially when you compare it up against the 65, right, you can tell that that's where X Plus was going with their interpretation of that figure. They were trying to go for the shoddy look on how Godzilla looked towards the tail end of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. But I've always wanted like a bigger, more realistic version of that shoddy look of Godzilla for the tail end of that film. And again, once I saw Iconic Repaint's video of it, again, I try to track down, try to find somebody who can help me get this kit, and that's where Charles Blankenship and John LeGrand come into the situation. And this makes my third Tengetsu Crafts model kit. The first kit I was able to get for myself, and of course in the archives of the channel, was the 50cm resin model kit of the 1971 Godzilla, but I had it morphed into the 1972 Godzilla. The second one was actually my most favorite figure acquisition of this year, 2023, courtesy of Marcellus Winters and Kyle Yount, you know, our fellows later on Collect Doll Monsters, with the 56cm tall resin model kit of the 1984 Godzilla. And this makes my third, you know what I'm saying? And if you recall my videos of both the 84 and the 71/72 when it comes to Tengetsu Crafts, and I still stand by this, quite frankly, that their sculpts are kind of like hit or miss. There are some sculpts that are great. There are some sculpts that are not so great. Now, with the 71/72, if you saw my video, I mentioned that, yes, that sculpt wasn't the best in the world. But since that version of Godzilla, at least that suit of Godzilla, in Hedra as well as Gigan, right? The suit was getting kind of shoddy. You know, it was on his last legs. You know, it wasn't in the pristine condition that it was in 1968's Destroy All Monsters. So around 1971, 1972, the wear and tear was really visible on the suit. And the sculpt really replicated that. So even though the sculpt wasn't in the most pristine condition, it kind of plays into how the suit looked in the film, quite frankly. You could say the same thing here with the 66. And even though, again, the sculpt may not be the best in the world, or at least the most pristine or crisp, the most crisp detail on it, quite frankly, again, it kind of plays into how the look, how the suit looked, at least how the shoddy look of Godzilla had in the film, at least towards the tail end of that film. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to the various Godzilla designs that we have gotten over the years, there have been, you know, lots of Godzilla designs, obviously. There are some that are more distinct than others, quite frankly. There are some designs that kind of like run together where you can't make a big distinction between the two. Like, let's say the Heisei versions, maybe the 93 or the 94. It's kind of hard trying to distinguish one from the other. I mean, hardcore Godzilla fans can, but still it's not too much distinction there. Or maybe the 2002 and 2003, which was virtually the same suit, and it's kind of hard to notice the differences between those two, quite frankly. But there have been some distinct Godzilla looks over the years that when you think about it, or at least when you see it, you know exactly where it comes from. A few that come to mind that are truly distinct, in my opinion, is of course the 1967 Godzilla. That look was very, very distinct. The 2000 or the 1999, that was a distinct look of Godzilla, very, very recognizable. Or the 95, you know, the Burning Godzilla, the original Burning Godzilla, that was a distinct look for him. Of course, GMK. Oh, I love GMK, but again, that look was very unique and kind of one of a kind, you know, or whatever. Or Shin Godzilla, you know what I'm saying? That goes without question or without saying. And again, when you look at this Godzilla, again, you're automatically, you know where it comes from. You know exactly where it comes from. And it comes from, again, towards the tail end of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. And again, that's the backstory, how I got the kit, you know, when it came out, all that good stuff, who built and painted for me. And I'm glad I was able to get this in my collection. Again, it was kind of like a goal of mine to try and get this. and I'm glad I was able to secure it. So again, thank you to Charles and thank you to John for helping me get this into my collection. I really do appreciate it. So let's get up close and personal with this guy. Again, this is the Tengetsu Crafts 33 or 34 centimeters tall resin model kit of the 1966 Godzilla, or the Nankai Goji from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts of Godzilla himself, I need to explain the history behind this suit and why Godzilla looked the way that he looked in the tail end of that film. I know I touched on it a few times in past videos, but it's worth repeating here. But again, this is the suit that was used in Sea Monster was the same suit that was used in the previous film of Monster Zero. And with this suit of Godzilla, normally around this time, they would use, like for water scenes involving Godzilla, they would use an already existing suit to preserve the main suit for the film. They started that back in 1964's, my favorite film, Mothra vs. Godzilla. In the water scenes, when we see Godzilla approaching Iwa Island at the end of the film, and when we see him like wrapped in the web, courtesy of the Mothra twins, and he tumbles over into the ocean. If you look closely, that's actually the King Goji suit. They didn't use the 64 suit for a good majority of the water scenes. There are times that we might see Godzilla in water, at least a 64 suit, but it wasn't too extensive. But with Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, this was the primary suit. It did the land scenes, it did the water scenes, and all that good stuff. The problem is that, yes, even though the water scenes did look awesome when he was fighting Ebra, the problem is that because of the suit being a big rubber suit, when it was in the water, it kind of absorbed the water. The suit absorbed the water, and unfortunately, the suit became deformed and became extremely baggy looking. Quite frankly, the suit was already baggy enough, right? But the water really affected the suit and inflicted so much damage on the suit that really kind of prohibited this Godzilla from being a mainstream suit, at least the main suit for future films going forward. It would be basically the water suit moving forward. And I'll talk about that towards the tail end of the video. So with this suit in particular, and again, especially when it comes to the head, because the head was really the main difference between the look of Godzilla when he first appears and when he attached the red bamboo base going towards the tail end of the film. Now, what happened was Eiji Tsuburaya, the special effects wizard behind these films, from the first Godzilla film up until this point, around this time he established his own production company, Tsuburaya Productions, in which he basically kickstarted the Ultra series, Ultra Q, Ultraman, Ultra 7, all that good stuff. So around this time he was doing episodes of Ultraman, and he was making a monster, an original monster, at least he tried to fight Ultraman, but he wanted to use a Godzilla suit. So what he did, he took the body of the Mothra vs. Godzilla suit, the Mosu Goji suit, and he wanted the head of the Daisenso Goji suit, which was at this point used for the filming of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So Tsuburaya went to the special effects director of Sea Monster, which wasn't Tsuburaya. I think his name was Sadamasa Arikawa. Even though Tsuburaya gets credit in the opening credits of the movie of Sea Monster that he was the special effects director, he really wasn't. Sadamasa Arikawa was the special effects director. So basically, he went to him and said, "Hey, look, we tried to make a monster suit, but we kind of messed up the head of it, and we kind of need Godzilla's head to complete the suit." And for what I understand, I think Arikawa was like, "No." I'm making a Godzilla movie. Godzilla is in the film. He's going to need to have a head. You can't just take the head. And because he was Eiji Tsuburaya, Toho approved it and was like, look, just chop the head off, give it to him. And what happened was they whipped up an artificial head, a replacement head. And that's why Godzilla had that shoddy look, at least that cocaine-induced look towards the tail end of the film. And that's how we got the Nankai Goji suit, because again, you can tell when the changes were made before and after the suit, or at least on the suit, quite frankly. Godzilla looks one way when he first appears in the film, when he first fights Ebra for the first time, when he comes across Dio, when he fights the airplane squadron, right? But after that point, when he attacks the red bamboo base and when he fights Ebra again, and when he comes across Mothra, he has a completely different look. Again, the body looks the same, but it's just the head. And the head, again, looked like he was drunk or he was high, one of the two. Again, they whipped up an artificial head to make up for the fact that the original head was gone. But the head made Godzilla look so shoddy. But at the same time, I really do appreciate that. But that was the history behind the non-Kai Goji suit in a nutshell. But as you can see here, the kit looks great. You know what I'm saying? Tree bark-like skin of Godzilla. Again, the tree bark nature of the skin of Godzilla is not, again, it's not in pristine condition like you would find on maybe a Monster Maker 28 kit or a Goro kit or anything like that. At least involving the kit where Godzilla was a brand spanking new suit, quite frankly. But again, the worn down texture of the tree bark skin, again, plays into how Godzilla looked towards the tail end of the film, quite frankly. The tail is going upward, so he's not much of a big shelf hog, even though he's somewhat bigger than your standard 30 centimeter figures from X Plus. But I like the shape of the tail, the elegant shape of the tail where it's going upwards, you know, whatever. The dorsal plates, the small dorsal plates going towards the base of the tail, going towards the tip of the tail. The smaller dorsal plates look really, really good. Even the tree bark-like skin on the tail looks really, really good. The dorsal plates, again, I love the dorsal plates of Godzilla here, quite frankly. They're a variation of the King Goji's dorsal plates or the Mosu Goshi dorsal plates in a lot of respects. So it looks really good. The shapes of the dorsal plates and the placement of the dorsal plates, they look absolutely, absolutely great. Going towards the front of Godzilla, you know, the three-toe scheme, you know, whatever, looks really, really good. The abdomen looks really, really good, even though it's a worn down look. Godzilla's arms, again, I love the placement of the arms because he looks like he's about to attack Ebra, and he's looking down. And again, that's kind of something that we saw in the film anyway. If Godzilla is going into the ocean to fight Ebra, he's going downwards. He's looking downwards while Ebra is looking upwards, and he's trying to rise up to attack Godzilla. Godzilla in response is looking down, and I actually like that, you know, whatever. Or at least with the arm placement, you know, Godzilla was flailing his arms around when he was attacking the red bamboo base, and they were attacking him. So the look of the arms, like the placement of the arms, is really, really, really good, and it expressed the motion of Godzilla in the film, in certain parts of the film, quite frankly. Of course, the hair sculpt, and again, when you look at the head, you know exactly where it comes from. Oh, the shoddy look of Godzilla. But you know what? I appreciate it. I'm not going to apologize for that. I love this look of Godzilla. And again, I've always wanted like a realistic, if you want to call it realistic, take on that design of Godzilla. As a matter of fact, I actually love the look of Godzilla in the water scenes of Godzilla versus Gigan. And y'all know they use actually the 67 suit, or at least a modified version of the 67 suit for those scenes. But I wouldn't mind if Tengetsu Crafts did a model kit of that suit. Call me weird. I'm not going to apologize for it. But again, I love the sculpt of the head here. And actually, you know what? When you remember the scenes involving this Godzilla towards the tail end of the film, the head kind of looked like it took on like two different looks, quite frankly. There are times where Godzilla's head, where the eyes are bulging out really, really big. Like, again, like he snorted the best cocaine that anybody could ever snort, right? Then there are times where his brows are kind of like going down and he looked like he is so drunk. He is so hungover that he's about to just topple over and take a nap for 14,000 years, right? So you have those two distinct looks there, quite frankly. And actually, you know what? It's actually replicated here in the model kit. If you look at towards the right hand of his face, he looks like, again, that Godzilla where his eyes are all bulging out, where he looks like cocaine-induced. Kind of like how he look in the water scenes in the next film, Son of Godzilla, with his eyes all big, you know, whatever. I do love that look, too. But the other side, the left side of his head, it looks like, again, like he's the drunk Godzilla. He's hungover Godzilla, quite frankly. So that may not be the original intent of what the sculptor was going for, but that's what I see when I look at the head. It has both of those looks. The vibes of both of those looks all within one head sculpt. And I like that. I think that was a cool touch. So the sculpt overall, from the head, dorsal plates, the arms, you know, just the dynamic pose of Godzilla, the tree bark-like skin, the toes, the claws, and the individual sculpt, the teeth, the tail, the sculpt looks great. The The paint job, again, that's where John LeGrand comes into play. Aside from him building and painting the kit, quite frankly, or building the kit, I should say, he did a great job with the colors of Godzilla. You know, not too much of a departure of what we saw around this time in the Showa period. You know, dark charcoal gray, you know, whatever. But I did make a point to him that I wanted him to have more so of a dirty look, because again, that's how Godzilla looked towards the tail end of the film anyway. He had somewhat of a dirty look. It wasn't in most pristine condition, because again, at this point, the water damage has taken its toll on the suit. So I wanted to replicate that. You know, it's replicated in the sculpt, but I wanted to replicate it in the paint job as well. And he kind of gave it like a muted, kind of dirty look, quite frankly. The dorsal plates are colored really well. The overall skin looks really, really good. The toenails, dark brown, you know, whatever, look worn down, as well as the claws, you know, whatever. The eyes are colored really, really well. The mouth, the jaws, you know, the teeth, they look really, really good. So overall, paint job, sculpt, it looks really, really phenomenal. And again, I love it. I love this Godzilla. I know I keep on saying that, but again, I know this look of Godzilla does not sit well with a lot of Godzilla fans. And that's understandable. You know, some Godzilla fans prefer Godzilla when he has the most pristine look. And there's nothing wrong with that, quite frankly. But you have fans like myself that appreciate the more questionable looking versions of Godzilla, like this one, or like the 67, quite frankly. And again, that's something I want to apologize for. But again, from top to bottom, sculpt-wise, paint job-wise, this thing is absolutely great. It's a great size. He's not too much of a shelf hog, quite frankly, because of his tail not going outwards or sticking outwards, you know, whatever. So you're able to put him on the shelf and he won't take up too much real estate. But again, if you're a huge fan of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, and if you're a huge fan of the Nankai Goji suit, at least how Godzilla looked towards the tail end of the film, in my opinion, maybe outside of the 25cm X Plus version, you owe it to yourself to go after this one. If you can find one for a good price in the aftermarket, I highly suggest it, because again, this thing is amazing. It really, really is amazing. And Tengetsu Crafts, if you're watching or listening, again, if you can work on giving us that water suit from Gigan, the 67 water suit from Gigan, I will buy it. I sure would buy it. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what the backstory, how I got this model kit, you know, the paint job, sculpt-wise, it looks absolutely great. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm not going to drown the figure review and size comparisons. Really, there's only one size comparison that really matters. And I'm going to bring up, you know, the 30cm X Plus Airbrush. I'm also going to shoot some inserts of how this figure looks with other pieces I have from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, you know what I'm saying? But the main size comparison is going to be between him and the X Plus 30cm original version of Ebra, the main monster he fought in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So let's go with that one and only size comparison between Godzilla and the Sea Monster right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the first and only size comparison. And yes, alongside the man of the hour, the Tengetsu Crafts 33 somewhat centimeter resin model kit of the 1966 Godzilla, specifically the Nankai Goji suit. I have two of his other monster co-stars. I don't have the giant condor, but whatever. We don't care about the giant condor. But two of the other main monsters that co-star with Godzilla in this epic film, yes, I said epic, of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And of course, to the left, we have the X Plus 30cm standard edition or standard version of Ebra, everybody's favorite giant crustacean, lobster, shrimp, monster thingy. Yes, the red bamboo's watchdog, if you will. And down at the bottom, I have a little mini Rick accessory of the Mothra 1966 that comes with the net and everything. Coincidentally, that was the Rick accessory that came with the original X Plus 25cm 1966 Godzilla figure that you saw earlier in the video. But I want to put this comparison together so you can see all three of the big main stars of this film. And even though Godzilla is a little bit bigger than what he should be, because again, he's like, again, in like the 33, 34 centimeter range, whereas Ebra is in the 30 centimeter range. And of course, Mothra is in no comparison size-wise between Ebra and Godzilla. But as you can see here, this is a cool shot between the three big main stars of the film, even though two of them were asleep a good chunk of the film. But what's so cool about Godzilla and Ebra here is, like, again, you know, I have Ebra sitting on top of this rock, and I can position him where he's looking upwards at Godzilla, and I can have them facing each other, and Godzilla is looking down, again, which kind of plays into the how I love the sculpt of this model kit of Godzilla, quite frankly, that I mentioned earlier. But when you put them together where Godzilla is facing down, trying to confront an uprising Ebra, and Ebra is coming out of the water to attack a descending Godzilla, you know, you have that, you know, look of these two monsters about to go at it, which looks really good. Or if you want to have this Godzilla kit, you know, up against, let's say, another S Plus figure, like the 25 centimeter Mothra in 1964, even though technically it's not the same Mothra from 66, but it does have the same look as the same Mothra from 66. So if you do what I normally do with that figure, where you don't have her in the mid-air position, you can place her on top of the base here. And you could just have her just landing on the ground and have Godzilla like towering over her, kind of like what happened towards the tail end of the film when Mothra and Godzilla kind of like briefly got into it. It looks really good, even though ordinarily I will pair the X Plus 25 centimeter 66 Godzilla up against the 30 centimeter Emperor, even though they're not in the same scales. Size scales or figure lines, I should say. They're not in the same line. But I do like to pair them two together a little bit more, because I prefer to have Godzilla and Ebra look like they're on equal terms. Even though the prop itself, when there wasn't a man in the Ebra suit, the prop itself was a little bit smaller than Godzilla, quite frankly. But I prefer to see Godzilla and Ebra look like they're on the same size when they're above the water and they're attacking each other. You know, when the man is inside the Ebra suit, it looks like, again, Ebra is the same size as Godzilla, so I prefer that. But if you want that look of Godzilla, you know, tossing that Ebra prop around, you know, I think the Tengetsu Crafts works here with the 30 centimeter Ebra. You know what I'm saying? And again, I have other collectibles from this epic movie, and I love this movie so much, you know, with the Favorite Sculptors Line Ebra 66 set that came out last year, the Figure of the Year 2022, you know what I'm saying, and a couple other pieces I have peppered out here and there. But again, I so love this movie, and I so love collecting treasures from this movie, and might as well say the Tengetsu Crafts are just another treasure. So again, if you're able to find one out there in the aftermarket, if you're able to build and paint it yourself, or if you know somebody who can build and paint it for you, then I highly suggest you go after it. You know, it really is a fun piece. It really is a fun piece, and I highly suggest you go after it, especially if you're a fan of the design of Godzilla as well as the movie. Now, that's it with the only size comparison that I want to put in this video, quite frankly. So that's it. So let's go with the final commentary portion of the video, my final thoughts of the Tengetsu Crafts resin model kit of the Nankai Goji suit, also known as Godzilla 1966 35 centimeter model kit. So let's do it, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the resin model kit of the Tengetsu Crafts 1966 Godzilla, also known as the Nankai Goji suit, based off his look towards the later half of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. Again, 10 out of 10. I so love this thing. Now, I'm fully aware that in terms of sculpt, the detail on this kit is not the best in the world. It's not perfect. But I will say, for the intent on what the sculpt and what the look of this design of Godzilla was going for, it looks like that worn down, shoddy, dilapidated look that the suit had towards the tail end of the film, quite frankly. I think it captured it to a T. You know, combined with the paint job from John LeGrand, he did an epic paint job. He did exactly what I asked him to do and make it more of a muddy look, a more worn down look, or dirty look, you know, whatever. He did a great job, even though he did tell me that he had to work a little bit extra harder to get this kit up and running, because going back to what I said before when it comes to Tengetsu Crafts, in terms of their sculpts being sometimes hit or miss, sometimes the sculpts or at least some of the pieces don't flow well together when you want to get the kit up and running. And he told me he had to do some extra surgery. He had to apply more putty in certain areas than he would normally do, quite frankly, just to get the desired look, or the look that that I asked him to make for me. So again, I want to thank him so much for going the extra mile, for not only building and painting it, but building and painting it exactly how I want it. And I'm sorry that you went out of your way a few times to get it up and running, but you did a great job. You did a phenomenal job. And again, I said this a few times before, in the course of this video, I so love this design of Godzilla. I so love the design of the look of Godzilla in this film. And I love the Daisenso Goji suit, or the Nankai Goji suit. I said a few times before that between the two suits, I actually prefer the 66 look, even though the 65 was the debut look of that suit. It was in better condition. It was in the best condition. By the time we get to Sea Monster, and when the water damage takes its toll, you know, it's almost like a completely different suit, even though there's variations of the 65 in there. But again, the water damage took its toll on the suit to the point where it looked, again, deformed. It looked like it was warped. It looked like it was just shoddy and baggy, you know, all that good stuff. Which again, why they made the practice of using an older suit for the water scenes. But again, since this suit did both the primary land scenes and the water scenes, you know, that was kind of like an unfortunate byproduct that the suit got warped as a result of it being in the water for so long. And even back then, when I first watched this movie back in the day, even I, as a kid, because even when it comes to stock footage, when it comes to films like Gigan and Megalon, you know, whatever, as a kid, you don't really care that Godzilla look changes in certain scenes, you know. And, you know, in terms of the filmmaker's mind, you know, when they use stock footage, it's like Godzilla is Godzilla, you know what I'm saying? Head, dorsal plates, tail, you know, whatever. Even though he may look different, it is still Godzilla, quite frankly. But even I, back then, when I saw the scene when he first appears, when he first attacks Ebra, when he comes across Dio, when he first gets attacked by the airplane squadron, that look is one way. But then when you see him towards the rest of the film, when he attacks the red bamboo base, when he fights Ebra for the last time, when he comes across Mothra, the suit looks completely different. At least the head looks completely different. Even I was observant of that back in the day. When I first saw that, I was like, why does Godzilla look like that? He didn't look like that when he was attacked by the airplane squadron. Why now, when he's here attacking the base, why does he look like he's under the influence of something? You know, I picked up on that, like I'm sure a lot of y'all did back in the day, but still, again, they were dealt like a bad hand when they chopped the head off the original suit and gave the super ride for Jiras for Ultraman, and then they had to whip up an alternate head to make do for a Sea Monster. It's unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. But I still love this look of Godzilla. And this suit will go on to, honestly, have the most appearances when it comes to Godzilla in the Showa period in terms of suits. Now, the mainstream suit, at least the main suit that made the most appearances, is the Shoshingeki suit. It was in Destroy All Monsters, Godzilla's Revenge, Hedra, and Gigan. Four main appearances that suit made. So a lot of people tend to think that suit was the suit that was used the most in terms of Godzilla in the Showa period. Not exactly. The Nankai Goji suit / Daisenso Goji suit was technically in 5. Right? I think a little bit more than that if you count the stock footage. Again, it was in Monster Zero, it was in Sea Monster, it was in the water scenes of Son of Godzilla before they changed over into the 67 suit. It was in the water scenes of Destroy All Monsters when he attacks the ship out at sea, and we kind of briefly see him when all 4 monsters of Godzilla, Rodan, Manda, and Mothra attack Tokyo. We kind of see it briefly when Godzilla makes landfall, you know, and of course it was used for stock footage in Godzilla's Revenge, if you want to count that, and it was used for the final time in Godzilla vs. Hedra, when Godzilla is jumping after Hedra and he jumps into the bay when he first comes across Hedra for the first time, or when Godzilla is out there in the middle of the ocean blasting the crap out of the floating debris. You know, that's actually the 66 suit. Some folks tend to think that's actually the 67 suit, but again, that suit wasn't used for the water scenes until the following year in 1972's Godzilla vs. Gigan. So, and again, we see it in stock footage. again and guy again, and we see it for the final time for our stock footage very, very briefly in Godzilla vs. Megalon, where Jaguar retrieves Godzilla from Monster Island, and we see that little stock footage from Sea Monster when Godzilla jumps into the ocean. So if you don't take out the so if you take out the stock footage, technically, again, this is the suit that made the most appearances in the Showa period, you know, whatever. But again, the water damage taking its toll on the suit made the suit relegated to the water scenes of Godzilla for at least a good chunk of the Showa series, at least a good chunk of Godzilla films after that point, you know, whatever. Because it's not like the budgets for these films were getting bigger and bigger as the series went along. The exact opposite, you know, the budgets got smaller and smaller and smaller, and sometimes they had to make do for what they had, quite frankly. So that's why, again, I have a huge appreciation for this suit. You know what I'm saying? I would probably say, outside of Sea Monster, my favorite look of this suit, or probably my favorite scenes of this suit, would probably be the Son of Godzilla scenes, where he appears in the beginning of the film, and when he appears at the island, when he first makes landfall on the island before they cleverly changed over into the 67 suit. For some reason, what they did to the suit, and they made the eyes look bigger. I don't know how they did that, but they did. But for some reason, my favorite look of this suit is when he appears in Son of Godzilla. You know, when he rises up out of the water and his eyes are all big, you know, whatever. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. But again, it makes me appreciate this suit. So again, I know like a lot of Godzilla fans tend to bash this suit and hate on this suit, and that is perfectly fine. You're well within your right to do that. But there are a lot of fans like me that actually appreciate this suit and appreciate this film, Sea Monster, and the other films that this suit was a part of, because it is a part of Godzilla's history. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, it is what it is. And I really do enjoy it. I really, really do. But again, this is an awesome, awesome sculpt. This is an awesome, awesome paint job. This is an awesome, awesome resin model kit of that look of Godzilla. Again, I so love it. So if you're able to find it in the aftermarket, and if you're a huge fan of this film as well as its design, you owe it to yourself to go after this piece. There's no question about that. Yes, yes, yeah, so that pretty much concludes my review of the resin model kit of the Tengetsu Crafts 1966 Godzilla, also known as the Nankai Goji, from its epic appearance from the later half, again, I gotta specify that, the later half of its appearance in 1966's Ebra Heart of the Deep, also known as Godzilla Ebra Mothra Big Duel in the South Seas, excuse me. Also known as Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. If you have any questions, hop it down in the comment section. Hit me on Facebook via Let's Be Chambers. We definitely would go from there. Yes, once again, thanks Charles. Thanks John. Really do appreciate it. And again, I hope to contract with you in the future when it comes to whatever other model kits I may get for myself down the pipeline. I'm not done collecting model kits, even though I am running low on space. Especially with some of the gigantic stuff that I got on pre-order that I know they're coming within the next year or so, whatever. But I'm still going to dabble into model kits, so you never know. I may call y'all again and say, hey, what you got? What can you do for me? You never know. But again, the interaction that we have had thus far, I really have enjoyed that. And again, thank you to Charles, thank you to John. I really do appreciate it. Now, in terms of model kits, we're going to keep the model kit coverage going. Yes, in the next video. And, you know, I got this model kit last year, and I should have reviewed it last year in honor of that particular character's birthday, because that this character actually celebrated an amazing birthday or milestone last year, but I couldn't get to it because I was so busy. But I'm finally getting to it. And in the next video, we will cover the winner of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Yes, I love poking that bear. Yes, the winner of King Kong vs. Godzilla with the epic, gigantic size statue of the Tony Cipriano King Kong 1962. That will be the next video on Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews, and I can't wait to get that out for y'all. But again, 10 out of 10. I love this thing. If you're able to find it, go get it. You will not be disappointed, especially if you're a fan of the design and of the movie. As a matter of fact, I'm going to watch Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster right now after I get my big butt out of this seat. So ladies and gentlemen, I finally give to you the resin model kit of the Tengetsu Crafts 1966 Godzilla, also known as the Nankai Goji suit, from its epic appearance from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on this figure move review. All right? Y'all take it easy. And Godzilla, I hope you get a nap because you look hungover. And say no to drugs. He didn't, but yeah. I still love it though. All right, take it easy.